The most common query that you're ever going to execute for most people is going to be the select statement. So let's take a look at that in this video. And what I'm going to do is click on Start. It goes away just as I get there. Click on Start. Go to SQL Server Management Studio. We've installed SQL Server. We've put in our sample databases, and I'm just going to take my Windows authentication. I'll connect to SQL Server with the same login that I logged in to my Windows Server or to Windows. And then I'm going to bring the Object Explorer up so that I can see my objects over here. Now, when I'm talking about a select statement, you're going to see a lot of select statements examples out there, but trust me, here's what you need to do, especially if you're new to this, and I'm going to suggest, even if you've been around a while, you need to do this. Click on Help inside the Management Studio and go to Contents. And this will take you right out here. You'll notice SQL Server 2008 Books Online. Now, let me give you another little hint here. You can download SQL Server 2008 Books Online from Microsoft's website as a standalone application kind of thing that you can load on your laptop or anywhere else and take with you without installing SQL Server. And then you can just kind of read over stuff a little bit later on. It's a little bit nerdy, but it's a real cool way to learn and to have SQL Server 8 at your fingertips. Now, once I get into Contents, I can click on the Index tab down here. And let me show you something. I'm going to close this and go back. I could have just as easily chosen Help and Index, and it takes me to that very same tab. But what I want to do is type Select. And if you'll come down here, you will notice I'm really looking for the select statement. And so if you come all the way down, you will see Select Statement for SQL Server. You'll see About Select Statement. You'll see some examples. There's a lot of information. You need to read through this stuff, okay? I'm going to just click on About Select Statement. And notice, I'm going to let this go away down here. You need to print this out and go through it. Here's the full syntax. We're going to select. We can use into. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Our from statement from the table we want to pull from. And notice we have a select list up here of our columns. So we're going to say select the columns from the tables. We can do where conditions, group by conditions, having, and order by. Now, let me just drag the cursor down and show you how much information they have about each one of those. Then at the bottom, they have the Select Transact SQL page, and I clicked on that, and I want you to see that. And notice, there's the full syntax of the select statement. Now, I would venture to say that probably 60% of the people out there working on a somewhat regular basis with SQL Server has no idea all of this is here and what all they can do with it. So again, print this stuff out, begin to go out here, look at the Into clause, click here, go print that page out, get you a little folder, and when you're standing in line somewhere, when you're waiting on hold, that sort of thing, read over this stuff. There is a lot of information, a lot of things you can do. So let's close Help. Come out to the Management Studio, and I will click on New Query, and I'm just going to type a basic query. Now, in the Pubs database, and I'm going to use Pubs because it's a very simple database, and if I look at the tables, notice there's an Authors table. And if I expand it, I can expand columns, and I can see the name of my columns out there. And I'm going to make my properties go away, unpinned it so that I can see them. Make it a little wider for you. Now, when I start to type a query in the Management Studio, I have to tell it which database I'm executing it against, and I can just choose my Pubs database here. Now, I want to select the first and last name from the authors table, so I can just type select, and I'll put the AUF name, comma, AUL name from, and I just put the name of the table, authors. And then I'll execute, and there's the results. And that's a very basic select statement. Now, what a lot of people will do is they will set some sort of standard form for their queries because it can get tough to read these things. And what I like to do is come down here and indent, and I will put every column, as you can see, on a separate line. Then I will put my tables the same way. Now, just by glancing at this, no matter how large and complex or sophisticated this query gets, I can see every one of my columns that I'm pulling, and I can see my tables and where they're coming from. And then if I have a where clause, I can come down and say where, and I can put my clause in there. AU_L name equals, and we'll just take Carson. And notice I delimited that, and now it will return only Carson. So that's the basic select statement. Get comfortable with the structure of this. Select, columns listed with a comma after every one, not the last one, from the table, and then we put our where clause. You always want to put a where clause in a production database, because if I run this without that where clause, it's going to select every row in the database table. That could be millions, and your DBAs will come looking for you. So that's the basic select, and in the next video I'll show you a few more things that we can do with the select statement.